start the show, we'd like to thank our sponsors, Beef, the Beefmaster Education Endowment Fund. Thank you for everything you do for the cattle industry, this breed, and us. Thank you for supporting us. SEBA, the Southeastern Beefmaster Breeders Association. Thank you for all you're doing, especially for the Southeast, and look out for their sale every August in convention. Emmons Beefmasters, Mr. Steve and Miss Cindy needs no introduction. Thank you for what you do for the breed, and thank you for supporting us. C&M Ranches out of Kershaw, South Carolina, the Chick family. Thank you for what you all do for us. It means a lot. Lissy's Beefmasters down in Texas. Thank you to them for supporting the show, and look out for their sales, multiple sales a year, plus some frozen genetic sales. Cottage Farms Beefmasters, thank you for supporting us, and thank you for what you do for the breed as well. Been in it 50 years, and that's saying something. Sea Shepherd Beefmasters down in Texas, thank you for supporting us. Jones Beefmasters over in Savannah, Tennessee, Mr. Clark Jones, look out for his sale every June. Has great cattle and breeds, just great stuff. Valor Cattle Company out of Georgia, thank you for supporting us, and we couldn't do it without any of you, and we really appreciate it. Welcome to Beefmaster Banner. We're your hosts, Josh Morrison and Jared Strickland. How's it going, Jared?
Yeah, it's going good. We finally got some rain. We had the tropical storm or hurricane come up this past week, and we ended up with 5 inches of rain. First rain we've had in almost 2 months.
Good grief.
But
did you get any damage?
Yeah, we got a couple trees down. I think that more from just had all the rain and wind kind of come, but
yeah,
well, nothing too bad.
We were dry here too, and thankfully some kind of storm spun up off the coast there and brought us about 2.5 inches between the last about day and a half. So it all worked out. I'm glad we're getting some rain, because same way with y'all, it hadn't been quite that long, but we were starting to get dry pretty quick. So I was glad to have it.
It's been good for those that got it. I know there's plenty of dry places still out there, but definitely was glad to see it. Now I know there's people out there dealing with army worms and stuff, but I don't know if I was telling you that or not. I come in the house yesterday or come to the house. We've been gone this weekend, and come in. I said, "What in the world's happened to the yard?" Because it had been raining, so it's green back up. And got to come out yesterday morning, and there was so many army worms all over the driveway. I said, "Well, they're in the yard."
Oh,
the day when I come in, there's so many of them, they crawling up the house. I told my wife, I said, "I hope they don't get in the house. They'll carry us off."
They gonna eat you out of house and home, literally.
Yeah, my neighbor, he come by and he said, "What?" I said, "What's going on with my yard?" I said, "You've had army worms. They done carried all your grass off."
Good grief. They're here as well, and I'm hoping we don't see them. I've not seen any, thankfully, yet. Hopefully, I don't even know what the season for those are, but hopefully we are on the back end of that anyways.
And, I mean, it's getting later. I mean, they tend to, I think this will be the last wave of them here. The bad thing about it is it's been so dry and we ain't had no grass, and they hatch out by the time we finally start getting some growing back.
Well, and the bad part is around here, we've never really heard of them. And then all of a sudden this year, it seems like that's a real thing around here now. So sucks, but what you going to do about it?
That's just part of there's always a new curve headed our way at some point.
Well, I think you've not been showing cows. You've been showing chickens and goats the last couple of days.
Yeah, well, it's a fair week for us. So as an extension agent, I help put on the livestock shows, and we're trying to sneak this one in this week since everything's so busy. But we had chickens last night and some swine tonight. Be back on the cattle and stuff tomorrow. Looking forward to that. And then finish up the week with the sheep and the goats.
Well, I got a good laugh last night because I didn't realize, I had no idea that people actually showed chickens. So
so it's because it's the chick chain 4-H chick chain project, and they always we get them to bring back some of their chickens and do a little show contest kind of deal. So
good deal. Well, it's a good time.
It's it's a good. We auctioned them off and raised money for the 4-H, so everything went good.
And how much did you say you raised?
It's about $3,000,
That's a lot
and
of money for
I'm
chicken.
trying to think. I'm trying to think. It's about 14, 15 pens of chickens or whatever. So it went pretty good. I'd say we did good.
We talk about the beef market. The chicken market was good that night.
Well, somebody asked me, I said, "Why are these chickens bringing so much?" I said, "Well, it's kind of a donation or whatever." I said, "But they got them golden eggs, I reckon."
Oh yeah, yeah. They got those good eggs. Those good
Yeah.
eggs. Well, tonight we thought we talked a little bit about attracting new customers and kind of give our opinions and advice on when folks want to come see you and make farm visits, and maybe some questions to ask even when you go places and visit others. Just something we've not covered that we kind of thought would be cool to cover and hopefully help some people. Um, we'll start out by just things to remember when having people come on your farm for visits. I'm going to state the obvious, and I hope this don't come out the wrong way, but just have your pen set up, have everything neat and in order. That's probably the first thing that I would say, and it doesn't matter if you've got 100-year-old panels, you can still have it neat and in order. People want to see that. I I know we're talking about cows here, but I think a lot of times when people come, they're coming to see your setups too. They want to know how you work them. They want to know you know, how those cattle are worked. Are they really stressed out every time? Are they comfortable when they come in? I think that's one of the big things.
Yeah, I agree with that. They want to see how you're handling the cattle, and that's kind of which disposition is it's a genetic thing, but it also can be influenced by how you handle your cattle as well. Uh, if you're running them around and they're working through facilities that's not, the right way or something, and it, oh, it gets them stirred up, and people don't like to see that either. Uh, but yeah, I think you hit that on there. If you're, the way I see it is, you know, we want to have people come visit our farms. It's a good way to promote your cattle, good way to sell cattle, and good way to get people get to know what you got going on. So I've always been told first impression is kind of the only impression a lot of times. And
Absolutely.
when you when you people want to come by, I'm not saying you got to have it manicured like a golf course or nothing like that because we're all busy and got things to do. And we're some of the worst about tying stuff up with hay string. We're all cattle farmers. We understand what it takes sometimes, but I guess the main thing I'd be saying is, just have it look pretty nice. We all got wives that say, well, somebody's coming over. We got to get the house straightened up. You know what I mean? It's kind of the same way with your farm. Somebody's coming by or something. You kind of want to have it looking fairly decent. I'm not saying everything's got to be mowed and all that because, like I said, it takes time to do all that. But that's part of it is the percent. Well, it's kind of like we're talking about consignment sales and stuff like that. Presentation is everything sometimes, and showing your farm to somebody is part of it as well if they come by the farm. So
Absolutely.
it's a great opportunity, and it's good that's something to think about if you're starting to have farm visits with folks coming in.
Well, and going along with that, make sure you can get to your cattle in the pasture. Make sure wherever they're at, because obviously when people want to come see them, they want to see your cows. That's the number one thing they're coming for, right? So make sure they're not across the river where you can't get to them. That would be a big thing for me too, is just make sure. And then if you've got donors, if you've got a donor pen, make sure you show them off because obviously, especially if you've got calves out there that you're selling, people are going to want to see those. So always, our donors right now are with. I've got them in different we've got them in different pens with the herd, and we don't have them in our own pen. I'd like to eventually have them in their own pasture. But it's just not realistic right now for us, and that's not a problem. But just make sure you can get to the cattle.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. The kind of other thing to think about too is I know sometimes it's hard to schedule what time someone arrives or whatever if they're passing through or something like that. But especially in the summertime, morning time or evening times is better because that way we got Beefmaster cattle, but they still like to get in the shade. So if it's 100 degrees outside, sometimes it's hard to look at the cattle then because they're off in the far corner, shaded up somewhere. It's always nice to have folks come out either in the morning or in the evening time. That way the cattle are out grazing around, and that way you can, if you're going to a pasture like that, they tend to even look better that time of the day because they're not so hot, and gutted out, So I mean that's something to think about as well as you're planning those visits. Try to work it around the times that makes it more convenient to see the cattle too.
Yeah, and share as you're looking at cows, as you're looking at the herd, because obviously people are going to ask what their pedigrees are. Some may just pull up their numbers, just their BBU right there, and just look at them that way. I mean that does matter. But that's a good time, and we'll get into this in just a little bit. But that's a good time to start talk about your program, talk about your goals, talk about the direction you're headed, talk about the programs you bought into and why you've done it, and where you're looking at selling cattle or marketing your cattle, whether you've got a you know commercial guy that's been in it 50 years that just wants to come see what Beefmasters are around his area, or a purebred breeder that wants to buy something you've got. Always, I feel like you've always got to share your direction, and that's a great time because you've got them there. Generally, when they come see you, they're there for at least a half a day, if not a whole day. So share those things with them. Ask them, and ask them what they think about it. I wouldn't be afraid to say, "Hey, here's my direction. Here's my plan. Here's what I'm thinking. What do you think about it?"
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. Showing where you're headed and what you want to do is always a good idea. That way, let's say if somebody's there to buy something from you, that gives them confidence that you're being progressive and looking into the future. And if they're just there to see what you got going on, that's always a great thing to show them that way. It may even give them some ideas, help them and encourage them to to move forward with some breeding decisions and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree 100%. And you never know, like you said, it may help them in some choices. Maybe you've got some bulls that you've AI'd to, or that you've, done some embryo transfers with, and that very well may help those folks decide, hey, I think I want to go that route and try it. And it very well may be your bull you're marketing, that you want to show those calves off, and you want to see what's going on. And because there's a lot of people that will buy semen off a bull before ever seeing anything if he's marketed right.
Oh yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. I've done it and I've been successful. But there's some people out there that want to see calves, and they want to see them in person before they ever decide to pull the trigger on buying semen. The money's all relevant. It costs money to do it, and a lot of people would rather not take the risk until they see it, and that's a perfect time to show it to them.
Yeah, that's all exactly right. Uh, and that's kind of thinking about that, leads me into, you get questions from new breeders like, well, how do you get people interested to come into your farm or stuff like that? And I think it goes back to what several folks have already mentioned here 1,000 times, is go to these satellite sales and bring cattle to those sales and bring something good, and bring one of your best to get people interested and be like, hey, if they got one of these kind of heifers here, what do they got hanging around at the house, and that'll get people interested in stopping by and just seeing what you got going on. And that's your opportunity to attract those people to your farm. Because I think we all like to take cattle to sales and things like that, but where the commission-free sales happen and or things like that, or or keeps the farm going and gets the volume out there is when those folks come to your farm and you're able to sell them, goose like load of heifers or something,
Oh,
or
absolutely.
whatever, what you got going on, or a few bulls or whatever. In this business, we got to sell some volume at some point to kind of make it work. And I think the best way to do that is off the farm, really. That way, folks, and you kind of get to negotiate your price, stuff like that.
Oh, I agree. And it kind of goes without saying too, you know, if we take the cattle out of it for a minute when we're talking about people wanting to come see you, people want to come be a likable person. You know, just be yourself, be genuine when you're at committee meetings or you're at other sales. People take notice on that. They take notice on how you treat people. They take notice on excuse me, how you know, how you interact with other people, what and I'm gonna tell you, they listen to the comments you make about the cattle. And you just want to be, you know, it's no secret. There's in life, there's politics and everything. But it's not necessarily playing a certain game of politics. It's just being yourself and being genuine. That's gonna make people say, "Man, I want to go visit that guy. He seems like he's a good guy. I'd like to know what kind of cattle he's got." And then you can kind of get into everything else.
Yeah, I agree with a lot what you're saying. I mean, when I was in the seed business, they kind of trained us when I was selling seed was everybody's in the business has got a good product. They'd always say, but the reason they buy from you is because of who you are, the service you give, and those things like that. And I think the cattle business is similar to that. Most businesses are similar to that. I mean, because if everybody's using good genetics, I'm not saying there's not some differences, but there are. But the service you give, the person you are, and how you stand behind your product and things like that are just as important as the animals you're selling in a sense. And just basic people like to buy from people that they like and enjoy being
Absolutely.
around and being friends with. I mean, that's kind of the nature of the human nature in a sense. So uh I think like you're hitting that nail on the head. Be somebody that you want people to be that people want to be around, and you'll attract more people to your farm that way as well.
Yeah, be somebody you like to be around.
Hundred
It's a,
percent,
that's a
hundred
good
percent.
that's a good way to say it. Be somebody you like to be around. And it's
Yeah,
just and most people are and so I don't ever want this to come across as being negative because most people, especially the people in this breed, are that way. But if you're just learning, if you're just getting in this and it can be intimidating, all the pedigrees and all the sales and all the different people when you hear different things about different people and it goes back to don't ever make pre-assumptions. Go see the people, go talk to them because you may learn everything about one person that you've heard one thing about and it's just being like we said a good human a decent human
yeah,
being. It's not hard and being I sell bobcat equipment for a living. It's just the same way. Everybody makes good equipment. It's just a matter you're more selling yourself than you are anything else, just like you said. And it's an everyday thing. And sometimes it works, sometimes it don't. But I'm honest with them. You're transparent with them. You go above and beyond, and then it's up to them to make the decision. Same way with the cow business. It's the exact same way.
yeah. And then talking about being honest, that's really one of the best ways to show folks, what you got is on the farm. You can get them out there and show them the cows. They get to see the cows, what they look like, what their structure is, the udders on the mama cows if they got calves on them, and there's a lot of things that you can talk about the history of those cows, where they come from, and I like going and you see somebody like that's something I try to point out if somebody comes by is if we got 3 or 4 generations of cows you see, you got your great grand
Hmm.
dam there, then you got your great, you know, and you and all that. And if you got them all four of them in a pasture together, you say you can connect the dots, or something like that. And I think that gives people confidence in your cattle. So have something kind of like that lined up for people when they see. That way they can see the steps as you go and the progression. Then that way people have confidence in your cattle. And if you're on somebody's farm, ask them questions like that. Well, where did this cow come from? If you like the way she looks or things that she's doing, how'd you get to this point? And the funny thing is the progeny and the ancestry may be all standing there in the same pasture,
Yeah, absolutely. But you may learn
and
something about a new pedigree of cows you never even heard of.
yeah, I mean, that's, and I know pedigree and stuff like that can be overwhelming sometimes, but that's the best time to learn is that one-on-one situation when you're on somebody's farm. I guess this is a dual conversation. You want people to come to your farm and you want to go to people's farms
Yeah,
to
absolutely.
learn and do that. Cause I always enjoy the talks at the sales and all that, but there's so many people, you're being pulled all these different directions. But when you're on somebody's farm, you're there more one-on-one. It's a little bit slower pace and you really can ask a lot of questions that, you know, you can take the time to get the, the whole answer instead of something just real quick because you've got several other people you got to talk to before it's sell time or something.
Oh yeah, yeah. And this, I'll be interested to see how our audience takes this, and they might hammer me on it, but I'm going to say it anyways. You know, when we're talking of kind of going back, kind of where we're about to end up with the marketing deal. When you buy your first set of cattle, and if you don't have a bull or don't have access to a bull right now, just a great bull, there's nothing wrong with that. Here's what I would recommend. It's just my opinion. I'd like to hear everybody's opinion. But there's nothing that says you can't go out and buy some of this, you know, pedigreed, well-known pedigreed semen and put it in your cows. Now, other people are, I know some people are not about pedigree, and I get that, and I'm not saying that's the end all be all, but that is a good way to market your animals, especially when you're first starting. Get you a mentor that's been in this a long time, figure out what good bulls, and there's a ton of good bulls out there in today's time. But do something that's got some name behind it. Do something that's got some name recognition behind it, because that's going to help you more than anything. And then if you want to, you're only one generation. So if you want to do something different or want to go a different route, you can always change that the next year or go find you a bull. But like I say, I may get hammered on that, but I think that's a good way to be marketable as well.
Yeah, no, I like that, and kind of tying it in with the farm visit deal. If you go to several farms and you're seeing a well-named bull or recognized bull, and he's being really consistent on a lot of different types of cows and a lot of different farms, maybe that's your sign right there that may be the one that you need to be using. That's something kind of like you mentioned about buying semen. You may want to see calves first before you do it. Uh, figure out you might find that at a sale somewhere. You get to talking to some folks and they've been using a certain bull that you have been interested in. Well, go see the calves. Ask them, say, hey, can I come by and see the calves and see what kind of cows he's been bred to, and how do they match up to the cows you got, and if it's something similar and they were working really good, maybe that's something you ought to uh, be looking into. I think some of the best ideas that I have come off of seeing other people's cattle and other people's breeding. Because I mean, if they're doing it, and I've got something similar, why can't I do it? So I mean,
Absolutely.
that's really some of the best scouting, I guess, is what I call it, trying to figure out what to breed. And I actually had a conversation today with somebody about that. Trying to figure out what do you breed certain things to, and sometimes it gets hard. And can do that, and seeing it on you only get to see, if you only go to sales, you may not get to see what's actually going on in the scenes at a farm. So you getting that behind the scenes action is can be helpful.
And nobody's going to tell you. It would surprise me if anybody sit there and told you, no, you can't come see what I've got.
Yeah,
Ever.
most people are going to want to show off what they got. I mean, uh, just remember if the weather's bad or if it's in the winter time, some people might not want you to come by, especially if it's been raining a lot, muddy and stuff. Kind of like going back to the first part of the conversation. Kind of remember that people want things to look good, so and have a good presentation. So if there's sometimes where it's not conducive to have a good
No.
presentation when it's been raining 10 inches and it's 10, 15 degrees 2 weeks later and everybody's all stove up cold and mudded in, that's one thing. So be mindful of that as well. So
And standing in mud around a hay ring.
yeah, I mean,
It happens here.
it makes it hard to make cattle look good. Sometimes people just don't want people coming through in the wintertime. I'm kind of the same way. We don't do too many farm visits in the winter just because, for one, you're busy getting, and cattle they just not very presentable in the middle of the winter sometimes. So
They don't ever look their best in the winter, and it's cold. And I'm just going to tell you, I'm just going to tell everybody right now, I hate the cold weather. I'd rather be 100 as to be 20 any day.
yeah,
I would much
100%.
rather be that way.
But that's something to think in mind too when you're asking folks to come see their cattle. That I think most people are going to want you to come by. They'll be glad to have you come by, and but just be mindful of time of the year. If they've got a sale coming up, I'm sure they'll be definitely want you to come by because they're going to want to sell something, and even that, or if they do have something like that coming up, then they're real busy. They may not can accommodate it at the time. But
And always ask them. I mean, most of the time they're going to tell you, hey, let me get through this sale. Let me get through whatever I'm doing, and then then call me back. We'll do it.
oh yeah, and it's kind of like I said, it goes both ways. You want people to come to your farm, but you also want to go to other folks' farm. Me and my dad always joke. Sometimes if we hadn't been out in a while, we kind of get barn blind with our cattle. Want to get out and see some more and kind of compare. Because that's how you want to see if you can improve it or not, is because people compare, and you want to compare your cattle to other folks' cattle to kind of see where you're at and what you need to do to improve. So
Absolutely. And one of the questions that I would tell you, if you go to someone's place, ask them their direction. If they don't tell you, say, hey, what brought you to where you're at now? What decisions and ideas led you to this place? And where are you looking at going? They'll tell you. And they may be, you know, they may be a little nervous to tell you because maybe they don't know how somebody's going to take it, but that'll open up a door, and that may set up a friendship for a lifetime. I mean, there's just ways, or a partnership. Y'all may have the exact same goals. You hit it off. You become really good friends, and you say, "Hey, let's partner on something." There's always ways of doing things, but I would always, no matter where you go, who you visit, I would always say, "Hey, what's your direction? What led you here? Where you think you're headed?" Because just when we think we have it figured out, the cows kind of always tell us something different, don't they?
100%.
Oh,
There's
but
something to learn every time you go in the pasture.
there is absolutely ones to stay away from.
Yeah, we had that discussion earlier.
Yeah, we did. But no, this has been a good episode. It's been kind of a simple episode, but it's one that we've not done, and we both felt it was important to do. Because let's face it, there's a lot of people that we live in North Carolina. We live in the Southeast, a long ways from anywhere, pretty much, that has Beefmasters, and everybody's welcome to come here anytime they want. Just call me. I'll make time for you for sure. But I'm a long ways. Most people want to get on an airplane before they come see me.
Yeah. Well, like I said, we hadn't really talked about farm visits. We've talked about the marketing and all these other things, and we've probably mentioned it. It's been mentioned several times. Just get out and look at cattle and stuff. But we kind of want to talk a little bit specifically about, maybe some things to get people on your farm And don't be afraid to ask people to come look. I mean, I think that's if people, especially if they're close in your area, passing through or something like that, they're ask them, say, hey, come check out something I got going on. I kind of want your opinion or something, and people will be willing to do that. I
Oh
think
yeah.
that's a good way to get some more opinions on your cattle if you haven't taken many to sales yet or something like that too.
And if you live a long ways from somebody, maybe they'll say, "Hey, send me some videos, get good videos." But then maybe they'll say, "Give me some videos," or I'll try to make it up. Jared, I beg him to come out here all the time, but it's at least 8 hours. I know back to his place, so it's a long ways. But we try to get him out here every once in a while to
And
just for anything, just to like you said, just to get somebody else's opinion on the stuff.
yeah, I think it's important to do that, and then kind of going along with that, like I said, don't be afraid to ask people to do it, because a lot of people will be willing to help you, because that's really how we grow as a breed, and make those networking connections. Uh, that's really what it's about anyway, is making those connections, and that's a good way to do it, is get people out on your farm.
Yeah, 100%. I agree 100%. But yeah, y'all, everybody's welcome here. Anytime they want to come, just call and we'll make sure we make set a time to come. Um, and I feel certain that we've missed a lot of things probably that we could have said in this episode, but we're completely out of time. um, so that's all right though. Well, and when this comes out, if y'all have got ideas or advice um for people, let us know. We'll do another episode
Yeah,
if we have enough.
definitely share if you got some ideas, because I'm sure we've missed half of it or whatever, but
It's
but
just
definitely share your ideas with us.
it's just two of us. It kind of gets hard to ramble sometimes, and we've got ideas in our heads and thoughts, and then sometimes they leave us, and it just is what it is. But it's
Oh
all
yeah.
good. But hopefully everybody gets something out of this episode, and we'll move to the next one and see how it goes.
All righty.
We'll
We're
see
gonna call
everybody
it a
on.
night then, I guess.
That's it. That's it. We'll see everybody on the next episode.
See you.
Well, we want to thank everybody for listening to the Beefmaster Banner podcast. Please know that we are on Apple Podcast, Spotify, and we are on YouTube. Just search Beefmaster Banner. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe. We love hearing from you. And we'll see you on the next episode. Thank you.